So we often say Happy Memorial Day, but it's really not a happy celebration. It's happy in some way because that makes us reflect on all those who can't be with us. I have personal family members. My Uncle Paulie, who was my ultimate favorite, he passed 7 years ago, and he was a member of the Korean War. And I have my father-in-law, my uncles and grandfathers and whatnot. So I just want to take a moment to reflect those who cannot be with us physically, but they're always around us, watching us and protecting us. So without further delay, we're going to introduce Steve Reardon, our Elks Commodore. Exalted Ruler, sorry. What?
Thank you, Rose. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. So each year on Memorial Day, here in the town of Winthrop, along with many other cities and towns across the country, we take time to remember and honor the courageous men and women of our armed forces, those who have served, defended, sacrificed, and fought for our nation. It's a time for us all to remember the heroes of the past and to honor those who still continue to serve our country today. These are men and women from all across America, but what they have in common is extraordinary commitment and dedication, not only to our nation, but to the freedoms that we all cherish as Americans, and to the values and principles that we all hold so dear. So as we take time today to honor these brave men and women, it is my hope that we will keep them in our thoughts and in our prayers, not only today, but every day, so that we will always remain thankful and grateful to the service and the sacrifice they have given to the United States of America.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce Chad Bernstein and Freddie Poore, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I'm sorry. They're playing America the Beautiful, so sorry, stand corrected. Beautiful. They are from our own Winthrop Middle School band, and they are doing a phenomenal job bringing music back to Winthrop schools.
Next, I'd like to introduce Major Adam Detona, U.S. Army, active duty. Adam grew up in Winthrop and has now been in the Army. How many years? 18 years. And I'm gonna, so Adam, come on up. And
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today with all of you. And it's been a long time since I've had the privilege to, because of deployments and training and so forth. But on behalf of the Commanding General of Fort Benning, Georgia, we appreciate the continued support of the great people of Winthrop, Massachusetts. I love this place. I come back whenever I can because of folks just like you. And if we have to go ahead and charge headlong into the abyss overseas for whatever reason, it always makes it so much easier knowing that we have the support of all the folks from Winthrop, Massachusetts, the care packages, and the kind words, and of course the constant reminder from Mr. Honan about how he made far less money than we do now when he was in Vietnam. So I do appreciate it. And now please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce the women who will sing the national anthem for us. Please welcome Tina Marie Talby.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
One of the most beautiful voices around, and one of the most favorite people here. I'd like to now introduce our own American Legion Post member, Dave Kennedy, to lead us in prayer.
Safe country, our wonderful community, please hold our military personnel in your loving hands. Protect them as they protect us, and sustain their families who go through the burdens of supporting their loved ones. We ask this in our time of need, Lord, and we appeal to you to protect our country in the name of God, our protector. Amen.
Thank you. Now, this man really doesn't need an introduction our own, and we appreciate all that he does for the town of Winthrop in his leadership role at the State House. So, without further delay, Speaker DeLeo, please.
Thank you very much, Rose, for that very, very kind introduction, and thank you for having me here today. Events like today give us the opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices of our veterans and reaffirm ourselves to upholding the ideals that they fought so valiantly for. It is through remembrance that we can immortalize the men and women whose efforts to protect their country continue to impact our lives. On behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I want to express our gratitude to all the servicemen and women for their loyalty to our great nation. We appreciate the bravery they have shown, the sacrifices made by their families and loved ones, and the hugely positive impact that they've made on our nation and its history. We remember all who served. They did so with courage, and they did so with honor. For many, memories of war may be poignant or painful, but we all want to know that we have their back. For these reasons, it remains so important that we remain committed to giving back to our veterans. When they come home, we want them to know that they will be guaranteed the best services that this nation has to offer. I am proud of everything that Massachusetts does for its veterans. We rank first in the nation when it comes to assisting veterans and military personnel. And I, at this time, would also like to give a shout out to our Senator Boncory for his efforts to make this happen. Thank you very much, Senator. Just last week, we passed the BRAVE Act, which, among other things, increases both the active duty death benefit and the amount of financial support the state provides for veterans' burial expenses. Recognizes that many people who serve in the military have specialized medical training, the legislation also provides a pathway to military personnel to become EMTs once they return home. As you know, my door is always open to hear about what more we can do here in Massachusetts. It's an honor to be with you here today to offer our profound thanks for those serving today and those who have served our country through the years, some making the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our great country. Although we can never really fully repay them for their service, we can keep these brave soldiers from the past and the present in our thoughts and in our prayers. Thank you for coming together as we honor these courageous men and women. And may God bless the United States of America, and God bless those who fought and died to keep us free. Thank you very much.
Now, to also present to us some greetings from the Commonwealth, it's my pleasure to introduce our Senator Joseph Boncory.
Thank you, Commodore. Today, on this Memorial Day, we, along with Americans across this great country, take a day off to enjoy our family and friends. However, while we enjoy this day and the opportunity to get away from our everyday stresses, we should never forget why we come to this ceremony. We come here to remember how much was given so we can enjoy this day and every day in freedom. And we must insist that America remain the land of the free, a land where patriotism trumps politics, where the American flag is displayed proudly and frequently, and where our military veterans are regarded as society's true heroes. I want to thank those veterans with us today, and they, along with my good friend Adam Dortoner, who was a classmate of mine, will tell you that the worst part about service is the effect that it has on their families. When you enlist, they somehow enlist. When you go to the war, they fight their own war. And when you sometimes return, the worst has only begun. And we are fortunate to have our veterans who did here return with us today. But today they stand along with us to come here to show our Gold Star families, those families of our fallen soldiers, that we grieve with them, and that the sacrifice that their loved ones made will not be forgotten. And although we cannot begin to understand their sadness, our presence here today in this cemetery lets them know that their loss is our loss, that their loved ones did not die in vain. On Beacon Hill, we strive as a legislature to honor our fallen by fighting for their loved ones because they no longer can. As your state senator, I have the distinct privilege of fighting for our veterans every day. And I was proud, as the speaker mentioned, under his leadership to join with him in passage of the BRAVE Act, an act which provides veterans and their families the most expansive benefits of any state in this nation. Again, we strive to honor our fallen by fighting for their loved ones because they no longer can. So while there's nothing unpatriotic about a trip to the beach today or a barbecue, we should all make it a point to reflect on the luxury of freedom that we enjoy. Let us remember today and every day that tyrannical regimes have been toppled and genocide stopped because Americans sacrificed life and limb. Let us remember that without a U.S. military, the world would be a far more oppressive and darker place. Let us remember that freedom never had a greater friend than the American soldier, sailor, airman, marine, or Coast Guardsman. We must pledge today and every day to honor and remember those who gave all for our freedom. We must take the time, not just on Memorial Day, but every day, to say thank you. I am proud to represent this town that holds up veterans and honors the memories of those lost. I'm proud to work alongside our town council and of course our wonderful Veteran Service Officer, Rose, who epitomizes the sacrifice and the service of the men and women, our veterans and our U.S. military. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. May God bless our fallen heroes and the families they left behind, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to have our council president, Ron Vecchia, come up. Ron, as maybe many of you know, is also a Vietnam veteran. He's old like me. But Ron, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and fellow veterans. I'll emphasize boys and girls, the young that are here today. When I look out among you all, it reminds me of my boyhood, when I'd be riding around on my bicycle following the parade down to the cemetery to watch the services for our veterans. And I think it's important that our young people today keep remembering carry on the tradition. I remember coming in here and standing in awe of the soldiers, the men and women in their uniforms and their awards, on their uniforms. It just stood in awe as I watched the ceremonies. Tears in their eyes as the taps were played, or the Star-Spangled Banner. This is America, the heart of America that we're talking about, and the importance of remembering each and every person that has served this country. You know, the greatest generation was standing in front of us at the time. And now, as Richard just reminded me, we're getting old. And what do they call us? The baby boomers? Yeah. The baby boomers now are standing next to the greatest generation. And the millennials will be standing next to those. So it's important that we never, ever forget. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow brothers and sisters of the American Legion Post 146 and our town's veterans agent for once again putting on this most important event each year. We must never forget our veterans and those soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom for all Americans. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you. And now, this woman does this for us every single year, and we so appreciate it because she does an amazing job. And I just want to introduce Linda Calla to do Logan's order.
Good morning, everyone. I'm proud to read this proclamation. The words being read are why we are gathered here today. General John A. Logan's Memorial Day Order. Headquarters, Grand Army of the Republic. General Orders Number 11, Washington, D.C., May 5th, 1868. The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observation, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will, in their own way, arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind and fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure the results than cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foes? Their soldier lives were the revelry of freedom to erase in chains, and their deaths the tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that the consecrated wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no vandalism of avarice or neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generation that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow dull, other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as long as the light and warmth of life remain to us. Let us then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us in this solemn presence renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us a sacred charge upon a nation's gratitude, the soldiers, the sailor's widow, and orphan. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to lend its friendly aid in bringing to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Department comrades will use efforts to make this order effective. By order of John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief. And for all the men and women who have died for our freedom, we could never thank you enough. Thank you. For all the men and women who are fighting for our freedom and safety, thank you, be safe, and hurry home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Next, I would like to introduce our principal speaker. She's a little nervous. United States Air Force, Kate Anslinger. Did I pronounce it right? I was worried. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rich. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to start out by thanking the wonderful Rich Honan and Rose Mazzucchelli for being such dedicated members of the Winthrop community and always holding the veterans in this town with such high regard. When an email from Rich popped up on my computer one morning, I initially thought that it was him requesting media coverage for a Driftwood class or one of his many involvements in the town. Maybe he wanted me to write about a story about something he stumbled upon on Winthrop Beach during one of his daily 5 a.m. walks to capture the town's beautiful sunrises. The email from Rich was simply written. The subject line said, "Give me a call." Much to my surprise, Rich was asking me to speak as a veteran at today's Memorial Day services. At first I thought he was kidding, because really, who wants to hear from me when there are many other vets who would look better up here, clad in their military blues, decorated with a rainbow of heroic ribbons. And then when I realized he wasn't joking, I teared up with honor and felt immensely proud to be asked to speak about a topic that is what I believe to be one of the most meaningful topics, not just for our town ceremony, but for the country as a whole. Rich put it simple, and he asked me to talk about what Memorial Day means to me. In all honesty, as a child, I thought Memorial Day was a chance for me to spend an extra day at our camp on a lake in New Hampshire. An extra day to sleep in and splash around in the sun and indulge on burgers and s'mores around the campfire. A chance at a day off from school that would ultimately kick off the summer months. Little did I know, the true Memorial Day was surrounding me in so many ways that were very unclear to me back then, but are very obvious to me today. While I was enjoying that extra day at the lake, I was in the presence of my uncle who served in Vietnam, who, unbeknownst to me at the time, had seen far more horror and tragedy than I could ever imagine. To me, he was always Uncle George, the fun-loving, Harley-riding guy who was always fixing something around the camp and nicknaming inanimate objects. It wasn't until years later that I realized that my lovable uncle had spent his life surrounded by the ghosts of his fellow soldiers. He had been face to face with death, hit by shrapnel in Vietnam, and while he survived, many of his brothers did not. Many of those who fought beside him made the same sacrifice that Uncle George had been willing to make himself. His brothers, along with all of the men and women who have died in combat, gave up their freedom so that me, you, and all the future generations can bask in the sun, indulge in grilled food, and spend time with family on the holiday that is rightfully dedicated to honor them. To me, he was always fun-loving Uncle George, but inside he lived a life of being burdened by the loss of his brothers. And surely, if Uncle George were standing here today, his mind would be flashing to all of the faces that he left behind on the battlefields, all of the flags that he had to see presented to family members, all of the somber faces of spouses, mothers, fathers, and siblings that have lost their loved ones as a result of war. My time in the service was free of deployments and combat, and I was honorably discharged from the Air Force just days before stop loss was put into effect. But regardless, this has led me to an even deeper appreciation for the men and women, my own brothers and sisters, who died so that we could truly and freely live. Now, with 2 young daughters of my own, I feel blessed every day that I can spend countless hours watching them grow up, when so many soldiers that have passed in combat will never have the chance to hold their own child, or watch their brother or sister get married, or get that warm hug from a parent welcoming them home. Whether it's those who have lost their lives in the most recent battles, or those who have lost their lives in battles from long ago, they all gave up the same thing, their chance at the little joys in life, so that we could live fully and freely. Thank you.
Hold up. I think Rose has a little presentation we want to make to Kate.
I do. As a fellow sister in arms, and it's my pleasure and honor to give you our Women's Memorial coin for this year. So join the sisterhood. Thank you. Thank you to your family for being here.
Hold on. Just when you think it can't get any better.
Oh, boy.
We're going to give you a membership in American Legion 146.
Thank you.
You did great. Thank you very much, Kate. Next up, we're going to have, we would love to have Tina Marie Talvey to come up.
with me. Oh, beautiful o'er spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, o'er purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from the sea to shining sea.
And now, we're going to give an honorary salute. My scouts get ready. There have been many American-involved wars, but we're going to start with the American Revolution. Next, the War of 1812. The Mexican War. The Civil War. The Spanish-American War. World War I. World War II. The Korean War. The Vietnam War. Persian Gulf, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. War on Terrorism. The Iraq War. And the many current ongoing conflicts with Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, the Indian Ocean, and other places around the world. Thank you, Scouts.
Now, in a salute to deceased veterans of past wars and conflicts, I would please direct your attention over here to the members of the Winthrop Lodge of Elks, number 1078, and the Winthrop Emblem Club, number 15, for their wreath presentation.
Thank you, ladies, and thank you again for being with us yesterday at our events that we had around town. Now, our own American Legion Post 146 is going to do the honor volley, followed by taps with Chad and Freddie. Thank you, guys. That was beautiful.
We're going to have Tina Marie Talvey up one more time.
Please join me in singing God Bless America.
God bless America, and let I love stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you. Thank you. So, we have some thank yous to do. First of all, thank you all for being here. It's truly an honor, to be out here. It's not the best weather, but you know what? It's okay. Our scouts, our police department, our fire department, our missilemen, Department of the DPW, because they get calls from me every day to do something, and they just come right forward and do it. I mean, Linda, I thank you for Steve. And they work hard. They were here with us, trying to set up with us earlier. I would also like to thank the Winthrop Cemetery Department, because they do a great job at putting the flags out, with the Westcott family, who put all the flags out. If you have a loved one buried at one of our cemeteries and they don't have a plaque, please come and see me and we will order one for their grave. If you need flags, please come and see me, because we have flags at my office right outside the door, and you're more than welcome to come get one or two. So we want every veteran who is buried in our cemetery to be honored with an American flag. American Legion Post 146 does a phenomenal job at all of our ceremonies in town and honoring our men and women who have gone before us. I'd also like to thank Rich Honan, because he does a real lot. And yesterday's events, we had the support of the police department as well as the American Legion, and we dedicated a memorial to the Cash and Murray family down Point Shirley, which looks absolutely beautiful. And also my family for helping whenever I need them to help. Not that they really have a choice, but they're always there for me, especially my mom. So,
And I have to thank my wife who puts up with me. But on a serious note, I want to remind everyone, if you have a son, a daughter, a neighbor, a nephew that's serving overseas, to please contact me. I will put them on our monthly email, not email and care packages. It's now going on 17 years that we've been sending these care packages overseas. Adam, who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, received them over 4 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. We've shipped well over 38,000 pounds of packages. We currently have soldiers, not just from Winthrop, but with links to Winthrop, in Afghanistan, Iraq, Latvia, Nigeria, Djibouti, Africa, South Korea. We have one on a ship in the Pacific, one in the North Atlantic, one in the Persian Gulf. So the world is still a very dangerous place, and we are still supporting our men and women. So if you have somebody, just let me know, and I'll be glad to send them a package every month. And as Adam mentioned about my pay in Vietnam, I used to get $34 a week, just $4.90 a day. Yeah, it was. Rose said it was a lot back then. No, it wasn't. But I want to thank you all very much, and we'll say this is the closing of the service.
Thank you to Eddie for helping us set up earlier.
Oh yeah, Eddie, where's Eddie? Raise your hand. Eddie comes every Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Raise your hand, Eddie. Yeah. And helps us set up. Thank you very much, Eddie. Okay, thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Take care. Thank you.